I was tightening the last bolt on my new security gate when tires screeched on gravel. A dusty white SUV roared toward me, kicking up dirt that stung my eyes. Out jumped Linda Harris, wearing hiking boots, bright leggings, and a fanny pack stuffed full. She charged at the gate, face red, panting like I'd burned her house down. Before I could speak, she shoved her phone at me, hands shaking. "You're being recorded," she yelled. "You're blocking a historic trail." Her voice was half crazy, half silly. I stood there, wrench in hand, work boots in the dirt, trying not to laugh. She screamed into her phone, "911. I'm reporting a man for trapping people on a public trail." It was ridiculous, but it wasn't funny for long. Soon, sheriff's cars zoomed down the road, lights flashing, sirens loud. Linda waved her arms like she was landing a plane. This wasn't going to be a quiet Saturday. The deputies stepped out and Linda ran to them, pointing at my gate. "He's blocking the historic trail," she shrieked. "People are stuck back there in Silver Hollow, no water, no food. He's a monster." Her story was so wild, the younger deputy squinted like he was confused. I walked over, wiping my hands on a rag, and pointed to 6 clear, private property signs on the fence. The older deputy, Barnes, gave me a long look, then turned to Linda. "Ma'am, can you show us this public trail?" he asked, voice calm, like he was handling something dangerous. Linda puffed up, stomped to the gate, and yanked the lock hard. She slipped, fell backward into the dirt, one sandal flying off. Time stopped. She flopped in a bush, the younger deputy hiding a laugh. Linda jumped up, 1 foot bare, and kept yelling about the people's land, saying her great-aunt's neighbor's dog walker hiked here in the 70s. I stared, amazed at her nonsense. The deputies, not impressed, asked for my proof. I grabbed a folder from my truck, deeds, Oak Ridge County records, a surveyor's report, all certified and laminated. I'd learned not to trust people like Linda. Barnes read the papers and told Linda, "This is private land. No public trail exists. You need to leave." Her face turned purple, like she was boiling. "I'll have your badge," she screamed. "I know the mayor." Barnes shrugged. "Unless the mayor changes property law, you're trespassing." Linda switched to snapping photos of my gate, truck, and the deputies, muttering about the Historical Society and the news. She limped to her SUV, slammed the door, and sped off, leaving her sandal and a dust cloud. I thought it was over, but my gut said Linda wouldn't quit. By evening, flyers were all over Oak Ridge, "Save Our Trail." They had a fake picture of me as a mean villain, claiming I was jailing hikers and stealing public land. It was funny, except Linda was serious. I sat on my porch with sweet tea, watching the sunset over my land. The gate was my boundary, and Linda had started a war. She didn't know my rights were solid, my documents perfect, or that my cameras caught her 911 stunt and fall. As crickets chirped, I smiled. If she thought the gate was trouble, she'd soon learn she'd only seen the start. By Monday, Linda's plans were clear. Neon flyers were taped to my mailbox, fence, and the Oak Ridge gas station, calling me an evil land baron caging families behind steel. A dark photo of my gate tried to look scary, but the real shock was drone pictures of my land, taken without permission. I peeled a flyer off my windshield, shaking my head. Linda thought lies would break me. She was wrong. That afternoon, shouts came from my back property. I walked down, phone ready, and found Linda with a messy group, bored teens, a guy with a megaphone yelling nonsense, balloons on my fence, and posters on the gate. A wobbly petition table stood nearby. Linda saw me and pointed. "There he is," she shouted, like she'd caught a criminal. The crowd half-waved fists. I leaned against a post, waiting. "We demand you open the trail." Linda waved a clipboard like a sword. I asked for proof it was public. She stuttered, then rambled about common law and historical tradition, throwing in fake legal words. When I asked for a lawyer or city support, she bragged about city hall friends. I nodded, acting impressed, then said, "Unless you've got a court order, you're trespassing." Her face twisted. She filmed herself like a news reporter. I showed her a cease and desist email from my lawyer, citing her illegal drone photos and lies. "You've got 24 hours to remove every flyer, take back your lies, and apologize, or I'll sue you," I said. Linda's mouth opened like a fish. Her crowd mumbled, sensing she was losing. The smart ones grabbed their signs and left. Linda screamed about suing me, the governor, the Supreme Court. I walked off, whistling, her voice fading. By morning, most flyers were gone. Linda probably spent all night cleaning them up. I hoped she'd stop, but I was wrong again. Days later, I woke to honking and chants on my porch. Linda was back with 20 protesters, holding signs saying, "Free the path," lawn chairs, and a guy grilling hot dogs like it was a party. Linda grabbed a megaphone. "This man holds our community hostage. We won't leave until justice is served." She shoved it at me. "What do you say, oppressor?" I grinned, recording. "Smile, Linda." After an hour of their noise, I called the sheriff. The dispatcher knew Linda's antics and sent deputies. They arrived, looked at the circus, and gave Linda a choice: leave or face trespassing charges. Her followers, sunburned and bored, realized they were on private land for nothing. They packed up, leaving Linda alone, kicking a cooler in anger, muttering about lawsuits. I waved as she stormed off, thanking the deputies. The trail was quiet, but I knew Linda would try again, and her next mistake would be bigger. Days passed, too calm. One night, my security system pinged. I checked the feed, jaw tight. There was Linda with 2 helpers, sneaking around my back gate with flashlights and bolt cutters. They fumbled like bad spies, whispering as Linda cut the chain. Floodlights blazed, alarms wailed, and a robotic voice boomed, "You're being recorded. Police are coming." Linda screamed, dropping the cutters. One helper tripped into thorns, another froze, flashlight in his face. I watched, grinning, sipping a soda. Cruisers roared up, deputies jumped out, barking orders. Linda sobbed, claiming she was saving the trail. Her friends blamed each other, saying they just tagged along. Linda, never learning, ranted about constitutional rights, mixing up laws. Deputies cuffed her, telling her to be quiet. Her crew was cuffed too, their bravery gone. At the station, Linda demanded the chief, mayor, governor, calling her act a fight against crimes against humanity. Deputies booked her for trespassing, vandalism, and tampering. Her friends bailed out fast, leaving her to sit. By morning, Oak Ridge buzzed. People laughed at Linda's trail heist. Hashtags like Gatebuster trended with memes of her with bolt cutters. I stayed quiet, letting her fall apart. My lawyer prepped charges for property damage, harassment, and a restraining order to keep Linda away from my land. Linda held a sad press conference, ranting about oppression to bored reporters. A deputy held my deed for cameras, ruining her story. News showed her arrest, not her speech, with my land records as the star. The city rejected her demand to remove my gate, warning her of costs for fake claims. I framed their letter by my deed. Linda's life fell apart. The Historical Society kicked her out, shops ignored her, her rants lost her last friends. I tightened security, adding cameras, and enjoyed the calm. The court date came, and I was ready: deeds, surveys, permits, footage of Linda's crimes, her illegal drone shots. Linda posted crazy online rants, her Save Our Trail fundraiser failing. At the hearing, I arrived calm. Linda stormed in late, wearing a Justice for Trails shirt and muddy boots, holding a folder, her small group following. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, demanded evidence. My lawyer showed a pile of proof: deeds, records, videos, photos. Linda gave a teary speech about ancestral paths and greed, with no papers, just blurry photos. The judge, unimpressed, questioned her. Linda crumbled, exposed. My lawyer asked for damages for the gate, legal fees, and a permanent restraining order. Linda argued about civil liberties, but the judge snapped, "Trespassing isn't a right." She warned Linda her drone stunts and lies could lead to more lawsuits. The ruling was tough: fines for trespassing, payment for damages, a 500-foot restraining order, and 30 days to retract her lies. Linda froze, fists clenched, as her allies left. Outside, she ranted to cameras about corruption, tears on her face, while I drove off quietly. News headlines crushed her: landowner wins, trail lies debunked. Her meltdown videos went viral. Oak Ridge was done with her. Linda was banned from local groups, shunned by stores, her posts ignored. She moved away, a nobody. I added a wrought iron sign to my gate: "Private trail, protected by law and logic." Trespassers live-streamed for fun. It became a Oak Ridge attraction, photographed by passers-by, featured online. Neighbors praised my stand, inviting me to barbecues. The trail was mine, peaceful again. One evening, on my porch with coffee, I watched the sunset, the silver hollow hills glowing. Linda's chaos tested me, but I stood firm with truth, not tantrums. She tried to steal my peace and lost everything. My land, my gate, my quiet stood strong, a reminder that right, like a solid gate, doesn't budge.